There's still a whole bunch of questions left, so as it's the last day, I thought I would try to answer some of them. During walking meditation, after a while, I can experience awareness becoming very effortless. The visual field, surroundings become very clear and bright, and body just keeps on walking in this field. It's like if someone else was looking from outside and seeing the body walking in nature altogether, without emphasizing anything. This also happens when I go for a long walk in the park by myself, or sometimes in the evening indoors when I'm by myself. Then a subtle happiness is there and nothing is lacking. Is this a kind of samadhi? It comes by itself. How do I make it last longer? Practice. Just keep practicing. Yes, it probably is a kind of samadhi, but samadhi can also go to deeper levels through practice. That's why we call it practice. And it's very common when you're practicing mindfulness of walking, or walking meditation, that as your concentration improves, your mindfulness is more continuous, then you get this sense of, strong sense of the knowing, the mind that knows, and then the body is the thing that is known by the mind, and there's a separation. So it can almost seem like your body is not yours. It's a kind of experience of non-self. Your body feels separate from the mind that knows it, even though they're still together and you're walking along. But the body can seem like a doll or a robot or something like that. That's even if you're feeling tired or you have some pain in the body. Still, it doesn't seem like it belongs to you when the mind is calm and the mindfulness is continuous. So you can, the more calm, peaceful you become, the longer you can do it. And you can walk and you forget all about time, so your mind is just focusing on the object of your meditation, the feet touching the ground, or reciting Buddha, or following the breathing even. And you forget about the past, the future, and you can just keep walking, sometimes for hours. But you can also contemplate when you're doing this. So as different sensations come up into your experience, you hear sounds. Just notice your mind's reaction to the sound, whether it's interested, likes it, feels more neutral, or feels the sound is annoying, disturbing. You can investigate that. Or your desire to see, you're walking up and down, or even if you're going for a walk, your mind may start looking for things to see, and then when you see something you start thinking about it and you lose your mindfulness. You investigate that. Try and look at observe what we call gamadanha, craving for sense objects. So you see something, maybe it interests you, you go, what's that? You try and work it out. And you lose awareness that way, you get lost in the thing you're looking at. It could be something you like. So say you see a person that looks good to you. You start getting lost in their attractive features. But you've lost your awareness at that time. And then you pull your awareness back to the body, to the walking, and you can observe this sensual desire coming up and teach yourself about impermanence, maybe even change your object. So you're looking at the features of another person. Maybe you're saying, oh, he looks good, she looks good. Maybe observe something that doesn't look so good in that same image, but now you're focusing on the bit that doesn't look so good, rather than just focusing on what looks good. And that's the same as smells, sights, taste, smell, touch. When you notice you're getting caught into craving, your aim is to try and establish mindfulness and see that craving as impermanent, suffering, not self. So sometimes we have to use different reflections and insights to do that. Or you might just say, oh, it's just an image. Even if it's an attractive image or an ugly image, it arises, passes away. It's something you can just contemplate, the changing nature of sense impressions. They don't last. So if they don't last, they're not that good. They're actually suffering, aren't they? Because you keep holding on to something that doesn't last. That's a form of suffering, mild dissatisfaction. So there's plenty to do. Number one is keep your mindfulness strong as long as possible. Number two, contemplate what's going on.กราบขอเมตตาจากหลวงพ่อช่วยอธิบายเรื่องการทำงานของขันธ์ทั้งห้ารูปเวทนาสัญญาสังขารวิญญาณค่ะ There's a question asking about the five khandhas. I'll just say a bit in Thai and then in English. So these are the ways we describe a human. The Buddha used the terms because he's encouraging us to look at this human form we have and analyze it, rather than just taking the idea of me, myself, as one solid big thing with a name, personality, or other people the same. He encouraged us to look at the body as made up of different parts. We say different groups. Khandha means like group. Sometimes they use it, even the word piles, five groups of experience. Speak in Thai first. กองทั้งห้าขันธ์ห้ารูปก็คือตัวธาตุสี่เวทนาสุขทุกข์เฉยๆความรู้สึกสัญญาเขาเรียกกำหนดหมายรู้สิ่งที่เราจำสังขารสิ่งที่เราคิดปรุงแต่งทั้งดีทั้งชั่ววิญญาณการรับรู้ทางอายตนะคือตาเห็นรูปหูฟังเสียงอายตนะมีหกร่วมใจด้วยใจก็รับรู้อารมณ์ขันธ์ห้านี้ท่านก็ให้เราพิจารณาดูว่ามันเที่ยงหรือไม่เที่ยงคือรูปนี้มีความเปลี่ยนแปลงตลอดเวลาบางทีก็สังเกตดูมันโตตั้งแต่เด็กมาถึงปัจจุบันนี้ร่างกายก็เปลี่ยนแปลงจริงๆเปลี่ยนแปลงตลอดเวลาเซลล์กำลังเกิดแล้วก็ดับเกิดแล้วก็ตายตลอดเวลาร่างกายก็แก่ไปทุกวัน ธาตุสี่ก็แปรปรวนตลอดเวลาบางที่ป่วยบางที่เหนื่อยบางที่มีกำลังภาพที่เห็นของร่างกายก็เปลี่ยนอยู่เห็นอะไรเปลี่ยนแปลงหน้าตาก็เปลี่ยนเส้นผมก็เปลี่ยนกำหนดได้ความเปลี่ยนแปลงของร่างกายและสิ่งที่เปลี่ยนแปลงต้องถามว่าทุกข์หรือสุขมันทุกข์เพราะว่าการเปลี่ยนแปลงมันทนยากในที่สุดร่างกายมันก็เสื่อมสลายไปมันตายทุกข์แน่ๆไม่มีใครอยากตายยังไม่ตายก็ป่วยก่อนหรือมีความเจ็บปวดหรือมีความเปลี่ยนแปลงในทางลบของร่างกายมันก็เลยทุกข์มันอนัตตามันไม่ใช่ตัวตนสั่งไม่ได้ก็ต้องพิจารณาดูตรงนี้บ่อยๆตั้งสติแล้วก็พิจารณาบังคับกายไม่ให้ตายก็ไม่ได้บังคับกายไม่ให้เจ็บก็ไม่ได้ไม่ให้แก่ก็ไม่ได้สุดวิสัยเวทนาก็เกิดขึ้นตั้งอยู่ดับไปตลอดเวลาอยู่สุขอยู่ทุกข์เวทนาก็ไม่ใช่ตัวตนเพราะบังคับไม่ได้ไม่ใช่ว่าแสวงหาความสุขไม่ได้หาได้แต่ว่ามันอยู่ไม่นานจะบังคับให้ความสุขเวทนาอยู่กับเราทั้งวันก็เป็นไปไม่ได้เพราะลักษณะของเวทนาคือมันไม่เที่ยงมันทุกข์มันไม่ใช่ตัวตนมันอนัตตาเราอยากได้สุขแต่มันไม่ใช่ตลอดเวลาเป็นไปไม่ได้แล้วตามมาก็มีความทุกข์ด้วยทุกขเวทนามาเราอยากให้มันดับแต่บางทีก็บังคับไม่ได้มันไม่ดับหิวก็รู้สึกไม่สบายแต่อาจจะยังไม่สะดวกทานข้าวทำงานเหนื่อยก็รู้สึกทุกขเวทนาแต่บางทีก็ไม่มีทางเลือกเราก็ต้องทำต่อป่วยก็ทุกขเวทนามาแต่บังคับไม่ได้อยากหายป่วยแต่บางทีใช้เวลาเจ็บปวดบางทีบาดเจ็บไม่อยากให้บาดเจ็บไม่อยากให้มีทุกขเวทนาแต่กว่าจะหายบางทีหลายวันบางทีเป็นเดือนก็มีสัญญาคือการกำหนดไม่รู้วิธีจำสิ่งที่เราจำบางที่จำถูกบางที่จำผิดบางที่จำตามกิเลสของเราจำในสิ่งที่เราชอบก็มักจะจำสิ่งที่เราชอบสิ่งที่ถูกใจก็จำแบบหนึ่งสิ่งที่ไม่ถูกใจก็จำอีกแบบหนึ่งแต่ความหมายที่เราให้ในสิ่งที่เราจำมันก็บางทีมันก็เป็นตามกิเลสของเราเช่นคนหนึ่งก็ชอบหมาเขาเห็นหมาก็โอ้น่ารักชอบคิดถึงแต่อาจจะมีคนหนึ่ง ถูกหมากัดในอดีตเจอหมาที่ไหนก็กลัวเกลียดสองคนนี้เห็นหมาตัวเดียวกันความรู้สึกมันต่างกันเพราะวิธีจำของใจการจำและการกำหนดไม่รู้ของจิตมันต่างกันความจำก็เปลี่ยนได้เราก็รู้ความจำก็เสื่อมได้วันนี้ก็จำได้พรุ่งนี้ก็ลืมแล้ว มันไม่แน่อนิจจังทุกขังแล้วก็สุดท้ายก็อนัตตามันเป็นไปตามประสบการณ์ของตนแต่บางที่บังคับไม่ได้สังขารความคิดปรุงแต่งของจิตถ้าอบรมด้วยธรรมะบางทีคิดปรุงแต่งดีเกิดความสุขเกิดความรู้เข้าใจในธรรมในหลักความจริงไม่ได้ฟังธรรมสนใจทางโลกมากกว่าก็ปรุงแต่งอีกแบบหนึ่งวันนี้อันแล้วแต่เราสนใจเนาะเราจะปรุงแต่งจิตนี้ก็แล้วแต่เราก็กำหนดไปเราจะคิดถึงอะไรจะดูอะไรจะทำอะไรในโลกนี้มันจะมีผลต่อจิตใจตลอดเวลาแต่เจตนาที่เกิดขึ้นเป็นปัจจัยให้ความนึกคิดปรุงแต่งเกิดขึ้นอีกเช่นเราเคยโกรธ พอถึงเวลาเหตุปัจจัยพร้อมก็อาจจะโกรธอีกเพราะเรื่องนั้นเคยเกิดกับเราแล้วเราโกรธครั้งหนึ่งขาดสติเผลอโกรธก็เลยความคิดปรุงแต่งในทางลบเกี่ยวกับเรื่องที่ทำให้เราโกรธเคยเกิดแล้วพอเจอเหตุการณ์อย่างนี้อีกขาดสติก็โกรธทันทีคิดอีกคิดซ้ำๆบางทีคิดซ้ำๆก็บางทีกิเลสมันฉลาดมันก็เลยเริ่มคิดปรุงแต่งในทางว่าเราจะแก้แค้นยังไงจากแค่ความรู้สึกไม่พอใจกลายเป็นพยาบาทกลายเป็นคิดทำลายเขาก็ได้วิวัฒนาการของกิเลสมันเป็นอย่างนั้นปล่อยตามกิเลสตลอดความปรุงแต่งของจิตจะค่อยๆเปลี่ยนถ้าฝึกธรรมะฝึกศีลสติสมาธิปัญญาก็ปรุงแต่งอีกทางหนึ่งบางทีปรุงแต่งให้กิเลสตัดธรรมะบุญกุศลเกิดขึ้นแทนมันจะปรุงแต่งจิตอีกแบบหนึ่งวิญญาณก็คือรับรู้ตาเห็นรูปก็เกิดจิตวิญญาณจักขวิญญาณหูฟังเสียงโสตวิญญาณก็คือการเห็นการได้ยินเป็นต้นอันนี้เรายังมีความรู้สึกตัวตนก็คือตาของฉันเห็นฉันได้ยินตาเห็นสิ่งที่มีความหมายในทางดีก็ชอบมีลักษณะสวยงามชอบก็เกิดอารมณ์อันหนึ่งถ้าเห็นสิ่งที่น่าเกลียดไม่ชอบก็เกิดอารมณ์อีกอันหนึ่งก็เลยคนหนึ่งบุคคลคนหนึ่งก็แยกเป็นขันธ์ห้ากอง5อย่างจะได้พิจารณาสะดวกจะได้สื่อสารธรรมะอะไรก็พิจารณาสะดวกปกติเราก็รู้สึกว่าขันธ์5นี้กับรวมเป็นก้อนเดียวก็คือคนบุคคลมีชื่อมีบุคลิกอย่างนี้มีความรู้สึกอย่างนี้ชื่อคนเดียวคือเราแต่ที่จริงพระพุทธเจ้าบอกให้เราตั้งสติแล้วก็พิจารณาค่อยๆแยกออกจะได้เกิดความรู้ลึกซึ้งกว่าในที่สุดก็จะถึงความว่างความรู้สึกตัวบุคคลหายไปและเป็นความสุขอย่างยิ่งนะความว่างเป็นความสุขไม่มีตัวตนก็เลยไม่มีโกรธไม่มีโลภไม่มีกลัวไม่มีกังวลพระอริยเจ้าก็ไม่กลัวความตายเพราะความรู้สึกตัวตนก็น้อยลงหรือหายไปท่านอยู่กับความว่างมากๆท่านก็ไม่กลัวอะไร Just going back to the 5 khandhas, so we have form, feeling, perception, mental formation, sense consciousness, and the Buddha's giving us tools to investigate our experience.Separate out the body, the physical part of us, that's made up of the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, and then to look at those. Are these permanent or not permanent? They're impermanent, aren't they? Because they don't last. They're always changing, aging, things going wrong, changing all the time. Eventually we must die.So they're impermanent. There must be suffering then, because if they were permanent, there may be a chance they could be permanent happiness. But if they're impermanent, it means they're not going to support happiness. This body doesn't support continuous happiness. We're only here for a while, and even while we're here, we don't get happiness all the time. We don't get pleasure all the time. So the other 4 khandhas are the mental khandhas. So vedana means feeling. It can be mental, can be physical, pleasant, neutral, or painful. So that's also impermanent, suffering, not self. You can't make yourself have permanent sukha vedana all day, all night, all the time. The nearest we can come.With material things, you do things that bring you pleasure, but gradually the pleasure fades. Mentally, we sort of seek out pleasure of refined nature, so probably the most satisfying might be the pleasure of jhana, Rupa jhanas, arupa jhana. And you might attain that, and then you're reborn as a Brahma God. For eons you're sitting up there in the Brahma realm, very happy. You might even delude yourself that you've reached Nibbana or that this is the best. And it certainly is good, no one's denying that, but it's still impermanent. And whatever's impermanent is suffering, in the sense it doesn't last, can't bring you permanent happiness. And so then eventually Brahma gods get reborn again in different realms. So they can't escape the process of rebirth yet until they've seen the Dhamma, develop insight into anicca, dukkha, anatta. So Vedana is impermanent suffering, not self. Arises, passes away according to causes and conditions. If the conditions are right, you get pleasure. Conditions change, pleasure disappears. You might get pain. There's no self in that. If it was self, you could command, I want pleasure all day. This is mine, my feeling, so I just want pleasant, happy feelings all day. But you can't. It goes according to the causes and conditions. Sanya means perception, the way you remember things. And again, that's a conditioned thing. You have a certain experience, it will impress your mind, so you'll remember things. But two people remember different aspects of a very similar experience, depending on their attachment, their craving, their personality. So I was saying in Thai, maybe you're someone who loves dogs. So you see any dog you see, you generally go, oh, I love dogs. You're happy, you want to stroke it, pet that dog. Generally, that's how you see dogs. Maybe another person has had a bad experience with a dog and been bitten or mauled, injured. They see a dog, they have fear or aversion, they hate them. So these two people see the same dog, but they have a totally different reaction at the same time. They're both seeing, but the perception is different, because one perceives dogs as friendly, happy, good. One perceives dogs as ugly or threatening, leads to fear. But the actual seeing is just seeing a dog, seeing that shape, that form. So perception is very important for giving us details and background, which leads on to the next khandha, sankhara khandha. It's like the thinking, mental formations. And they're fed partly by perception, feeling as well. So you get a combination of feeling and perception. So I like dogs, happy, pleasant feeling, good memories. So you might get some good thoughts coming up. I like dogs, I want to play with this dog, I wish I had my dog here, or I want to buy a dog, and dog's this, dog's that. But for the person who hates dogs or is frightened by dogs, it's totally different mental proliferation, different mental formations will arise. Maybe they even want to harm the dog because they're afraid, they see it as a threat. So they say, oh, get out of here, I'm going to hit it, I'm going to attack it. Same dog, different perception, different feeling, different mental formations. You multiply that by all your senses and all your activities through your day, through your life, and you can see how complicated things start to get. Vijnana is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, and then the mind. They're called doorways for receiving sense impressions, and the sense impression is vijnana. You have seeing, hearing, tasting. And you have, when you're meditating and you're mindful, you'll notice how your sense consciousness is constantly arising and ceasing, changing. But it's so fast, you often can't detect it, can you? So you're seeing, and then you're hearing, but are you seeing first or hearing first? Seems like all a package, all happening at the same time. It's actually distinct moments. Sometimes that's obvious, but a lot of the time we miss it. It's just this whole jumbled up package of sense consciousness. And actually, every moment of sense consciousness is a bit like a pinprick. And that's why the Buddha said even sense consciousness is not neutral, it's impermanent, it's suffering, it's not self. Because you'll notice if you get a lot of strong sense impingement repeatedly, it's tiring, it's quite hard to process it all. You know, if you've got 3 people, say if you've got 3 kids, little kids, they're all talking at the same time. So mum or dad is getting overwhelmed by the sense impressions from the little kids, or they're running around doing things, so they're shouting, talking, doing this, doing that. There's a lot to process. It's very tiring being with little kids. Or going shopping, your eyes are just seeing all this stuff that you could buy, Christmas shopping, so much stuff that you could buy. What's the price of this, the price of that, how much money do I got? Oh, what about that shop? Oh, I forgot this, I forgot that. Just sense consciousness is quite overwhelming sometimes. Or if you've been in samadhi, where you have very straightforward consciousness, maybe just aware of the mind, peaceful, concentrated, still. You come out of a state of samadhi and then you experience your body, sensations in the body. You might go, ooh, there's a lot of stuff going on and the body feels heavy or uncomfortable, smelly, painful, maybe. Or you finish your deep state of samadhi, you come out and you go and mix with the world. On the one hand, you may be peaceful because you have a lot of bliss and sukha from your samadhi, but you also got to handle all the sense impressions of the world. And sometimes people get very angry after samadhi because they suddenly got to handle conversations and doing things and interacting with the world. And it's not always easy. Sometimes you can have a really deep meditation, you come out, and then you have a meal, or it's your time for your meal, and you're facing food, and the mind and the body are just like in a different place. They just don't want to eat food. Food seems very coarse, unpleasant, even if it's very delicious food. Maybe you can't even eat because the sense contact of eating, the sense impression is too much, the smell, the sight, the taste. So the mind just doesn't want to eat. So sometimes you experience samadhi and then sense consciousness can be seen as dukkha. So these 5 khandhas are the food for vipassana, for developing insight into the true nature of reality. There's a lot to talk about, but keep reading, listening to Dhamma, keep reflecting on them. Krab หลวงพ่อขอรบกวนตอบไทยเวอร์ชันด้วยครับคำถามที่ 1 What is this experience I had yesterday and why? During meditation, every version of yesterday, every session of yesterday, I could not focus and stay with the breath. There were some scattering thoughts, very short ones, images, thoughts of sound and conversation, not hearing it, took over the breath. They were mixed and come one after another. So they want to answer in English and Thai. Well, in English, that's a very normal experience. When mindfulness is weak, maybe there are factors leading up to that. Maybe we're physically tired, or we've meditated quite a lot for a few days, so sometimes your mind is like, it's lost all its inspiration and motivation. You kind of go flat, find it boring, find it difficult to maintain a sharp awareness. We become dull. It's very common. When we become more dull and mindfulness slips, then of course a lot more scattered, random thoughts pop into the mind, images, memories, and external sense impressions can often disturb us. Things that normally don't disturb us start to disturb us. So just a tiny little sound of a bird or somebody moving, and you already sets you off. Maybe you get irritated or annoyed because mindfulness is fairly weak. So mind is just jumping from one thought to another, one sense impression to another. So you have to practice a lot of patience during those periods, and then gradually put the effort in to bring the mindfulness back up. And try and recognize that the effort to be mindful is the important thing. The results, how peaceful you get, what's happening is another thing. The important thing is to have the effort, make the effort. And particularly if you're tired or even ill, you're not going to have lots of blissful experiences of rapture perhaps, because maybe somebody very skilled in entering jhana may get that, but most people, if they're ill, physically tired, run down or ill, the body doesn't sustain much piti. So even if they're mindful, everything seems very flat and boring. And normally when people get ill, their mindfulness gets so weak, they have lots of dreams. Often they have bad dreams, confusing dreams, and strange thoughts arise. You can talk to people in hospitals or situations when they're very ill. Often their mind is not stable, they're not very peaceful in themselves because their body is weak, so then the mindfulness slips right down. We just have to keep practicing, but be very patient and keep coming back to bringing up mindfulness. Sometimes change your thought, change your object when you're experiencing weak mindfulness, maybe from a weak body. Sometimes people do more metta at that time, just loving kindness for themselves, for others, to help relax the mind more consciously. Metta and karuna can be quite a useful meditation to develop at times when you're struggling or your mindfulness slips. Sometimes people investigate. So you're sitting there and you seem to have all kinds of random thoughts. Each little sound you hear annoys you, every little sensation in your body disturbs you. Things are difficult. Well, investigate what's going on here, what's the problem? Even though you may feel disturbed, agitated, you could ask yourself, okay, I'm not very peaceful today, but there's no real problem, is there? If you're just sitting, meditating in a hall, nobody's hurting you, nothing really bad is happening, it's just you're experiencing the mind that is like this. We say it, we say, oh, the mind is like this, it's not peaceful, mindfulness is not there, it's like this, it feels like this, now I know what it's like. And you're still partly mindful by investigating it. Ajahn Chah used to say, you're not peaceful? Okay, now you know the mind that is not peaceful. And you still gain some knowledge there. You're peaceful, you know that. You're not peaceful, you know that. Equal value. Or his other one was, oh, well, this is like on those days when the monks go out and they receive food and they just get plain rice. In the old days, and nowadays it doesn't really happen, but in Thailand in the old days, sometimes you go out on alms round, all you get is plain rice. You come back, that's all you've got for your meal. So a very flat, boring kind of meal, but you can survive on plain rice. For a few days it's not a problem. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. So he said, those days when your mindfulness is weak, your meditation seems flat, nothing's working, no joy, it's another meal of plain rice. You just hang on until you start to get the curries again. You just think, if that's sometimes good for us because you learn things. If you get curries every day, Ajahn Chah said, you get curries every day, maybe you just get stupid. because you just get attached to it and you never know what to do when you get the plain rice. Did I answer in Thai? I can't remember. Yang? Oh. 2 languages is confusing, so I didn't answer in Thai. ภาวนาไม่ขึ้นบางที่สติน้อยส่วนใหญ่ก็เนื่องจากร่างกายบางทีร่างกายเพลียรู้สึกเบื่อบางทีตั้งสติไม่ได้ไม่ได้อยู่กับลมไม่ได้อยู่กับพุทโธก็เลยความสัมผัสทางเส้นประสาททุกอย่างก็กวนแต่ยินเสียงนิดเดียวก็กวนไม่ได้เสียงนกที่ปกติน่ารักแต่ว่าเสียงนกถ้าสติอ่อนทำไมนกเยอะจังนกมาจะบินไปที่อื่นทำไมมันมารบกวนเรา สติอ่อนเพราะร่างกายอ่อนธาตุขันธ์เพลียก็เลยเสียงก็รบกวนความคิดผุขึ้นมาบางทีคิดบ้าๆบอๆแปลกๆมีภาพด้วยเป็นธรรมดาเราต้องหาวิธีพิจารณาในขณะนั้นนี่เป็นธรรมดาร่างกายอ่อนเพลียภาพก็สักแต่ว่าภาพเสียงก็สักแต่ว่าเสียงความคิดขึ้นมาเยอะๆไม่สงบก็ไม่เป็นไรความไม่สงบเป็นอย่างนี้ก็ยังเป็นความรู้นะความรู้ที่ว่าความไม่สงบมีลักษณะยังไงอาจจะสาวหาว่าสาเหตุคืออะไรเมื่อคืนนอนหลับน้อยหรือวันนี้รู้สึกอ่อนเพลียอะไรก็แล้วแต่เราก็ค่อยพิจารณาก็ยังเกิดความรู้ได้นะในขณะที่ไม่สงบที่ว่าก็หลวงพ่อชาเปรียบเทียบเหมือนพระบิณฑบาตได้ข้าวเปล่ากลับมาฉันไม่อร่อยแต่ก็ยังเป็นอาหารอยู่ได้เลี้ยงตัวเองได้รออีกวันหนึ่งอาจจะได้กลับด้วยกับข้าวมาก็สบายภาวนาอย่างนี้บางวันสงบบางวันไม่สงบให้อดทนทำต่ออย่าไปคิดมากครับนมัสการหลวงพ่อคำถามที่สองthere's a second part. When we contemplate during meditation, would the thoughts become too much and we get lost, lose our focus of the breath? Yes, the short answer is yes. That's one of the problems with contemplation is it kind of uses up your mindfulness. When you're mindful on a breath or another object and you start to experience more calm, stability of mind, then you're putting yourself in a good way to contemplate. Then you can turn your mind to look at things such as the body or feelings, or even just notice thoughts arising, ceasing. But the danger is, particularly with thinking, you start to get lost again in the details of your thoughts and the issues and combined with feeling, different feelings, pleasure and pain. After a while you'll find the thinking just descends back into normal, random or uncontrolled discursive thinking without much mindfulness. We've all experienced that. That's just very normal in meditation. So then you have to come back and re-establish mindfulness. So it can be very frustrating sometimes. You're just contemplating a bit of Dhamma and it's clear and you understand and it's really good, deep insight, and then suddenly you're just thinking about really silly things or what happened yesterday or tomorrow, and your mind has lost it all. So you just have to come back, bring up the mindfulness again, re-establish a state of calm, and that may take quite a while. But never mind, just keep doing it, and little by little you'll get better at it, and through experience you gain wisdom, which is like a shortcut for letting go of things. As you become a little wiser, you let go of things better, quicker. Then you experience more states of calm, and then your contemplation can last longer, and you can go maybe more deeper into things, see things and understand things more clearly. And you just keep doing this, keep practicing, deepening samadhi, but then also coming back to re-establish mindfulness when you've lost it all and your mind is all over the place. You have to get used to knowing when you're not very mindful, what's that like, so that's like the warning sign to say, oh, I better become more mindful, practice more mindfulness for a while. And maybe just focus on the breath again for quite a while until your mind feels more steady. You have to find ways to come back to developing samadhi when you've lost it all. The number one quality is sati, mindfulness. ถามเรื่องเวลาเราพิจารณาธรรมธรรมะข้อใดข้อหนึ่งอยู่ไปอยู่มาความคิดจะเริ่มเปลี่ยนเป็นความฟุ้งซ่านแล้วก็จะลืมลมลืมคำบริกรรมลืมสติก็ใช่ปัญหาของการพิจารณาเป็นอย่างนี้เป็นการใช้งานของจิตทำงานไปเรื่อยๆมันก็กินพลังสติจะค่อยๆหมดไปแล้วจะเริ่มหลงตามอารมณ์ต่างๆเหมือนเดิมจะกลับไปสู่สภาพเหมือนเดิมไม่ได้พิจารณาแล้วคิดปรุงแต่งเหมือนเดิมไม่มีสติไม่มีปัญญาก็ต้องเห็นในขณะนั้นต้องยอมรับตอนนี้สติอ่อนแล้วก็กลับมาฝึกสติใหม่ไปเดินจงกรมใหม่นั่งสมาธิใหม่จนกระทั่งพลังสติดีขึ้นแล้วอาจจะพิจารณาต่อถ้าชำนาญบางทีก็เร็วปล่อยวางเร็วกลับมาสู่สภาพฝึกสติเร็วถ้ายังใหม่ก็จะต้องใช้เวลาอดทนทำไปทำมาเริ่มสงบขึ้นก็เริ่มพิจารณาใหม่ไม่เป็นไรจะสงบไม่สงบทำไป Oh, still a lot of questions. Got a little bit of time left. Another one in Thai. การถือศีล8หนูมีข้อสงสัยศีลข้อที่7ค่ะเครื่องอะไรก็ไม่รู้หลวงพ่อช่วยกรุณาอธิบายให้ฟังหน่อยถ้าเราทำผิดแล้วเราจะแก้ไขยังไงให้ถูกต้องค่ะแล้วการผิดศีลมีผลต่อการปฏิบัติอย่างไรศีลข้อที่7เครื่องอะไรคำนี้คำอะไรเครื่องหอมก็ช่วงที่ถือศีลก็ไม่ต้องแต่งหน้าแต่งกายเครื่องหอมเครื่องสำอางเมคอัพทุกอย่างแล้วก็งดไม่ได้แต่งผมก็ไม่ต้องไปแต่งอะไรมากแล้วก็ทุกอย่างก็ทำแบบง่ายๆพอเราไม่สนใจที่จะประดับร่างกายแล้วในช่วงที่รักษาศีลแต่งชุดขาวเราไม่ได้มุ่งความสวยงามหรือการให้คนอื่นดูว่าสวยทุกอย่างเราก็เอาพอดีใช้สบู่ได้ยาสระผมได้แต่ว่าไม่ต้องไปเน้นความหอมความสวยงามเพราะมันคนละอย่างใช่ไหมทางโลกเขาก็เน้นอย่างนี้เราก็ไปทำงานออกไปสังคมเราก็แต่งตัวศีลห้าก็ไม่ผิดนะถ้าเรายังแต่งตัวอยู่แต่ศีล8เราก็มุ่งเหมือนเป็นพระหรือเป็นแม่ชีถึงเรายังไม่ได้โกนหัวหรือยังไม่ได้เป็นแม่ชีเราก็ตัดส่วนทางโลกความสวยงามหรือกามารมณ์ให้มันน้อยลงถ้าเรายังติดนิสัยติดฟอร์มติดมานานเราไปแอบใส่น้ำหอมหรือแต่งตัวก็ไม่มีใครว่าอะไรนี่เป็นเรื่องส่วนตัวแต่ว่าเราต้องรู้จักเราไม่ได้อยู่ในศีลแล้วเพราะเรายังหวังที่จะแต่งกายหรือเอาเครื่องหอม พื่อจะได้ต้องถามตัวเองเราทำเพื่ออะไรอยากให้คนอื่นดูว่าดีสวยอยากให้คนอื่นชอบเราติดเราปัญหาอยู่ตรงนี้เราก็ยังติดในความคิดทางโลกอยากได้ความสุขทางโลกอยากให้คนชอบทางโลกซึ่งก็จะมีเป็นอุปสรรคต่อธรรมจะทำให้เราติดผิวเผินเช่นเราจะเจริญอสุภะยากจะพิจารณาความไม่เที่ยงก็ยากก็จะมุ่งแต่สิ่งภายนอกแต่ธรรมะภายในอนิจจังทุกขังอนัตตาจะลืมไปแล้วความตั้งใจที่อยู่ในศีลก็อ่อนลงด้วยคำอธิษฐานก็อ่อนถ้าเราแอบผิดศีลไม่มีใครว่าเราหรือถ้าคนอื่นรู้เขาอาจจะว่าก็ได้แต่ว่าที่สำคัญก็คือเราทำให้คำอธิษฐานของเราที่จะถือศีลรักษาศีลอ่อนลงแล้วทำบ่อยๆการตั้งมั่นการมีสัจจะมันจะอ่อนในที่สุดศีลก็เป็นเรื่องที่เราต้องสมัครใจทำเราอยากฝึกตัวเองอย่างเราเห็นประโยชน์เราก็เลยจะทำแต่ถ้าเราตั้งใจแล้วก็ปล่อยขาดมันจะไม่ค่อยดีต่อการปฏิบัติมันจะทำให้กำลังจิตอ่อนลงการทำสมาธิยากเพราะว่าสติจะไม่ค่อยต่อเนื่องจะแพ้อารมณ์กามอารมณ์ได้ง่ายนิวรณ์ธรรมจะเข้ามาได้ง่ายอยากให้จิตเข้มแข็งตั้งมั่นเป็นสมาธิเอาศีลเป็นพื้นฐานถ้าศีล8ไม่ไหวก็เอาศีลห้าก็ได้จะได้ไม่หลอกตัวเอง There was a question about the 7th precept when when you're keeping 8 precepts but you give in to your desire to use perfumes, jewelry, makeup, whatever. How does that affect your practice? Well, it's obviously you're not keeping the precepts, so in a way you're kind of deceiving yourself. You say, oh, I'm keeping the 8 precepts. You're not at that time that you give in to the desire to carry on wearing makeup or using perfumes and so on. So one result is that your adhitthana, your determination to keep precepts, is weakened. And that will affect, particularly when you meditate, it means your mind is easily giving in to sensuality and the desire for sensuality. So it'll be harder to attain samadhi, maintain mindfulness, let go of these more superficial or coarser defilements. You're using the precepts to boost your discipline, bring up effort, discipline, so that you can then let go of worldly things, worldly happiness, worldly pleasure, sensual pleasure, so you can go into the citta more in your meditation. So it's like you're going backwards. So better would be to actually say, I can't keep the 8 precepts at the moment, I'm not ready for it, I'm not strong enough, so I'll just keep the 5 precepts. That would be better. Be honest with yourself. The reason we keep these 8 precepts is to cut out a lot of sensuality, simplify our practice what we call nekkhamma. So we give up entertainments, perfumes, decorative things. We're not trying to impress anyone, make anyone like us, look at us in an attractive way. We're just focusing on the Dhamma, the practice of training this mind to see the Dhamma, see anicca, dukkha, anatta, and let go of defilement. So if you're going back to the worldly way of dressing up, perfumes and so on, then you're going in a different direction. So the way to deal with that maybe is to go back to keeping 5 precepts until you're ready, and then maybe you try the 8 precepts again. But you have to think about it, make your mind firm, strong. It's not that anyone else is going to punish you or make you do this, it's for yourself. You want to use the precepts to train, to help yourself. Maybe last question. Can't get them through all of them today. What type of karma people make when they allow other people to break the 5 precepts? Well, this word allow, I mean, is it in your power to stop them? I mean, if you ask me, I say everyone should keep the 5 precepts over the whole world, but I don't have the power to stop them, so I have to accept that a lot of people are not seeing things the way I do. Strictly speaking, precepts can't be enforced by anyone. It's not like there's some authority who can make you keep precepts. It's not how it works. You're training yourself. You have to voluntarily say, I see the value of these precepts. They help me to train to abandon greed, anger, delusion. Not killing helps you to abandon ill will and hatred. Not stealing helps to abandon greed. Not committing acts of sexual misconduct helps you to be more modest and abandon lust. Not lying helps you to be honest. Not drinking helps you to stay sober. You have to see the value of these as training rules, and then you try and keep them, and occasionally you might lose your mindfulness, lose your understanding and awareness, so then you break them, so then you re-establish them. But it's very difficult to force other people to do that, because if you're forcing someone, then it's not going to have the desired effect, because they're not yet going to see the value of training. So they're going to do it because they're worried you'll punish them, say, if that's the situation. So maybe with kids, as a parent, well, you try to encourage strongly your kids to keep the 5 precepts. But what you really want to do is explain to them why, and explain to them so they really understand, maybe over and over again, until they just understand and know for themselves. In the old days, they did have villages where one of the rules or the criteria for staying in these villages was you have to keep the 5 precepts. That was an agreement made by all the people in the village, or the majority of them. So if someone lived in the village and then started stealing or drinking, then they might get a warning, but eventually they'd ask them to leave the village, because this village is a village of 5 precepts. They had them in Thailand and in other parts of the Buddhist world. Now it's gone, because I want my individual rights. No one's going to force me to give up drinking, stop stealing, whatever. Everyone wants their rights, and that's our culture now. So it really pushes it back onto each individual. Are you going to keep the precepts or not? That's your choice. And you have to accept that. A lot of people around don't want to keep precepts or don't see the value of it. What you can do is associate with people who do keep precepts. That's your choice. The law helps you. So there's certain situations where certain precepts maybe you go enforced through the law. So if you're at work, you're a manager or business owner or something, and your employee lies, steals, well, you've got the right to say, I'm sorry, we can't hire you anymore because you're not. You wouldn't say you're breaking the precepts, you say you're breaking the law. Or your neighbour physically attacks you or steals from you, where you live, well, then you go to the police and they sort it out. So some aspects of the precepts are in line with law, civil law, criminal law, but not completely. Nobody's going to arrest somebody for drinking unless they cause trouble, or telling a lie. You can tell a lie. If it's in certain situations, nobody's going to do anything about it. There's not much you can do about it when someone tells a lie. And you see it on social media all the time now, don't they? Everyone's lying. So it's up to each individual to kind of pick your way through society. Try and find Kalyana Mitta, good teachers, good friends, because that helps us when you associate with people who keep precepts. That helps us to keep the precepts. And if you're with people who don't keep the precepts, well, try your best to explain things to them, encourage them to see the value of keeping the precepts, but it's not something you can force. So I think we have to leave it there because time has run out again.